Good morning, good evening, people, wherever you are from. Today we are going to be doing a little interesting short journey, but we do have a little detour that we'd like to make along the way. And we are starting up here in Nyan Sham. I'm not going to even try. We're starting in Sweden and we're heading to Turku in Finland. Now, if I'm right about Turku, I don't know. Yeah, I'm right. I'm looking at it. It is a ferry port. I've travelled here before on my old account on Eurotruck. As I said in the last video, I've had over like 260 hours played on this game. This is a new account that I've set up with the new version of Pro Mods on 1.42, the latest update. Is that the latest update? I think it is. Today we're going to be getting the ferry over to Turku, but what I would like to see if we could go to this little remote island in Åland. Now, it's part, I've done my research on this, it's part of the Republic of Finland. So, it is part of Finland. So, if we can go from Sweden down here, maybe go through Stockholm. We'll set our route manually. Kapellskär, we'll try and go over to Åland and see the whole of that island like we've done in that remote Scottish island in the last video before we headed to Torshavn. And then we'll head over to Turku. But before Turku, hopefully we can go in this town of Naantali. And today we are driving the Renault E-Tech T-Sleeper, the new electric truck, which is exciting. Let's take a little sip of cup of tea there. So we're in the truck. And what are we taking today? We're taking copper roof gutters, 8 tons of that, to Turku. Yeah, and it's not going to be a long trip today. Mainly what I want to do is, in the last video I wasn't happy with how the audio sounded. So this time I'm testing out with a different audio input. So I'm trying my microphone this time instead of my desktop microphone, which was on last time. And the reason that was on last time is because I was basically just testing. I just jumped on Euro Truck Simulator, kind of had a little bit of a bad day, and I just thought to myself, like, just get on Euro Truck, drive around. I thought, why not just record this? And I just recorded off the cuff, but now I'm trying to put more effort into this, and I play this game every night, or the simulator, shall I say. So I would like to make a new video every day. I think that'd be a good idea. Look at these guys here, the builders on site. But I've noticed on the side of the truck we are with polish lines. So it looks like we're going to be doing some sort of, obviously travelling on the ferry, but looks like we'll be dropping this off at the Turku ferry port. So as we start up this truck, you'll notice that there's not much noise coming from it. That's it. So there's really not a lot of sound in this electric truck. Let's get underway. If we press I on the keyboard as we zoom in, if I press I now, keep pressing, there's our waypoint. It's nice to have that on the dash rather than having it up here on the side. I much prefer having it on the dash. It just cleans up the screen. If I've got a tough delivery point, I'll put the mirrors on, but generally I'd like to just look over. And I am using the Xbox controller, and when I did watch back the last video with the Xbox controller, I was very pleasantly surprised to see how similar it was to other YouTubers who used a wheel. Now, I'm going to have to try and bully my way in here, because this is quite a big queue to get into the ferry port. But I did say we're going to adjust our waypoint. So we want to come through Stockholm. Can we do that? I don't know, but we're going to kind of travel through it anyway. I want to go to Mariehamn, Godsby, and Geta, and then turn round and come back, and then head into Naantali and then into Turku. I think that'd be quite nice. It just adds a little bit more time onto the journey. And now that I've gone back, yeah, there we go. It does that. When you go onto the menus, you can go off it and then you've got no traffic left. Just trying to drive while drinking my tea here. But yeah, it should be a nice little journey. You know, looking at around 10 or 15 minutes, and hopefully the audio is a lot better, because I was a bit devastated. The last video was a 1 out of 10 video on the channel. You know, hit 30 views. Lovely little hotel there. I hit 30 views on the first day, which is nice. But unfortunately, you know, that didn't bode too well for the audio. And as I was saying on the last video with the charge, you know, you need to get an emergency charge if you run out of charge on the battery. There is no way to charge up your truck over at the petrol stations. There's no charging point installed. So that at the moment a little bit sad. But I'm sure SES are working on something. I've also seen that on the Reddit forums that there is a new DAF on its way. A new electric DAF, which would be quite nice. I'd like to drive that, and I'd like to see like a different interior. At the moment, you know, this Renault is quite bespoke. The wheel flattens out at the bottom, lovely dashboard here, and it's not unlike we've drove before on Euro Truck Simulator. So that's good to see. And as I said, I like putting the parking brake on and being able to release the parking brake and get away quite quickly. Obviously, trucks that you know, are running based off a normal engine is going to be quite slow to get off the mark. And I've noticed my FPS is dropping like crazy here in Stockholm. Obviously, I'm recording at the same time, which I kind of expect that, but it just looks like a big city with a lot going on. So just bear with us through this tough spell. The 35 FPS, that is dreadful. But we will pick back up. Hopefully when we get away from the big city, which is quite detailed, I will say. Lovely wide swing on the roundabout there. We head through the tunnel. But yeah, it'll be interesting to check out this remote island. I call it a remote island. It's where people live. It just seems interesting. All these little detours that you make on Euro Truck, I really recommend customizing your routes. So if you've got a route that is, you know, going through a lot of cities, but not, what it'll do is it won't actually take you through the cities. So you have to do that manually a lot of the time. And I think it's worth doing so you can tick off areas of the world that you visited. I think on this account I've explored 7% of the map, and I've also got Middle East expansion. And I've got to be honest, I absolutely love driving through the Middle East. I think it's really interesting. I love driving through Lebanon, Syria and Israel. Very, very interesting places. And obviously I don't know much about the politics in that region, but I just pray for peace and hope everything gets sorted soon. Because it's a beautiful part of the world that one day in real life I'd love to travel to. Should we get across here? I don't think we need to. Still struggling a little bit on the FPS, which is something I need to look into because I'm recording at the moment. Maybe that's having a little bit of a, well, it must be having a little bit of an impact on it. So I do apologise for that. And seeing that top left, you know, I always like to record in widescreen. So if you look on the top left, you see the FPS, and I'm usually averaging at least, you know, 55 to 60. But yeah, let's see what happens when we approach the ferry port. And maybe it's just Sweden. Maybe Sweden is just very heavy on traffic, very heavy on textures and etc. But yeah, this is not normal for me for it to run this poorly. This guy coming across here, good job we didn't put an indicator on once again. But yeah, I do really recommend Norway on the game, on Euro Truck Simulator. If you go to Bergen, it's absolutely beautiful. But I think the most beautiful, or one of the most beautiful journeys, was the one that we done yesterday. And if you haven't seen that, I recommend you go back. And we're meant to be in this lane across. I recommend you go and check that out because it was really, really interesting. And the traffic in Tórshavn was just incredible. Now we've jumped back to 60 FPS for now, which is nice. This is how the game should run. You gonna let me in there? Yeah, nice. And I've noticed when the FPS drops a little bit, like the gameplay versus my audio can be a little bit delayed. So hopefully the indicator sounds are all in sync. But if not, this is something I'm going to have to work on. I'm quite new to this. I don't know if I'm going to jinx things, but it's nice to be on 60 FPS again. I think it was just Stockholm was very, very busy in regards to textures, not in regards to cars on the road. What's the speed limit here? It must be 80. Seems like we're going quite slow in front. I think one of the main things that I'll be questioning SES about, and I think they've absolutely smashed it. They've done amazing with the new updates and how the game is developing. I'll always be so thankful of SES for giving us the base game and updating along the way. You know, you don't need the DLC. Obviously, you need the DLC to run pro mods, etc. But even if you just ran the vanilla game, it still feels great. You know, the game gets constantly updated. It's nice to see. But I would recommend, you know, if you do like how they keep the vanilla game and how they update it as they go, I recommend you buying the DLC over on Steam. You know, buy it directly from SCS. I think that's a good way to support them. I highly recommend you do that because then once you've got all the DLCs, you can run pro mods and you've got a game. Especially if you play loads of hours of this, like I do. This is a simulator that I just like to come on to in the night, and after a long day, just drive about and relax. Really, it's always good to do that. Always good. So yeah, I don't know how far we are from the ferry port. Yeah, we're not too far. Really interesting. Oh, brake test. Jesus. I'm really interested. Oh, brake test again. And this guy's what? Okay. Maybe I didn't see that guy. Sorry, mate. I mean, I'd like to watch that one back again. I did not see him. I've had a few issues actually, and I'm not saying that was one, but I've had traffic stopping because a car is sunk literally into the road. Like the car is poking out the road, like vertically facing downwards. That's a glitch. But I don't know if that was right there. I did not see that car whatsoever, so maybe I can blame that down to talking while driving. I don't know. Some beautiful scenery here in Sweden. I didn't enjoy Stockholm. I've just been through it. Obviously, I didn't think it was. It was my kind of city. I wouldn't buy a garage there. I have a few garages. I have one in my favourite place on the game so far. I think might be Kosovo, Pristina, to be exact. I just find it so nice to drive around there, and I really enjoy Tirana, Albania. Just the roads are so narrow. I think I mentioned this in the last video about how my favourite part of Euro Truck Simulator is the small, challenging roads, the windy roads in Greece. So we're here in Kapelaskar. Imagine this just like a little ferry port with some lovely greenery. Following the police in. Make sure I stick to my speed. Okay, so do we need to go through passport control? Or I think because we're in the Schengen zone, we can just head straight through. I'd be interested to know what some of your favourite border crossings are. I mean, personally, I like the ones into Russia on Rushmap. But to get Rushmap to work, you need a link. So there will be no border crossings unless you literally just go on the command menu and spawn yourself in Russia. Unless you do that, there will be no routes from Lithuania, etc., into Russia. But you can get a Rushmap connections where you can literally just install that on top of Rushmap, and then once you do so, you'll be given a border crossing, so you can cross from Europe. Well, Russia is in Europe, of course, but you can cross into Russia. Now, I'm looking here. So this is to Åland, obviously. We want to take this one, but I'm looking at Paldiski, that's in Estonia. And if anyone knows the YouTuber Bald and Bankruptcy, he famously went to see the Paldiski lighthouse. I just thought that was quite interesting. So this is a part of the world which, I'm very fond of. I'm just going to pop my lights on here because, this is a lovely ferry port, by the way. Absolutely beautiful. So this is our little remote island, which is going to be the title of this video. Let's explore it together. I'm quite interested to see. So yeah, this is a part of the world which, I like to feel like I've got like some sort of connection with, even though I haven't been to Finland directly. But, if we're going to define these areas, such as Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, as Northern Europe, this is steep, isn't it? If we're going to define that as Northern Europe, which to me, in my, I don't want to be, somewhat ignorant here, but for me, like Latvia, with its former Soviet roots, I've always seen as Eastern Europe. I'm going to curve that there if I'm not careful. I've always seen it as Eastern Europe, Lithuania more so, but then as you go up to Estonia, it's not quite Nordic, is it? Estonia is not Nordic, I would say. It was part of the Soviet Union, but Finland definitely is, and I think Estonia, I can't speak for the people of Estonia, but I'd imagine there'll be a fair few who think, we should be Nordic like Finland, and that's fair enough if that's what they, desire. But one thing that's really interesting about Estonia is, and when it bridges that connection with Finland, is that the ferry connection is really, really good. So it's just a quick ferry from Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, all the way into Helsinki. Very, very impressive. And it just bridges that gap. So I'd imagine if the people of Helsinki or Tallinn wanted a day trip, they can literally go to another country, which I always found quite interesting. I have done that before. With Corfu. I was on a package holiday last year in Corfu, and I do like my package holidays. Like, I really enjoy them. Obviously, they cost a lot. They cost more than a city break to just an average. I say average. That's wrong of me to say. Just a European city. I mean, just something more off the cuff. You go to Poland or you go to Latvia, Lithuania. These aren't exactly summer destinations. Although I was quite pleasantly surprised to go to the town of Järmala in Latvia, near Riga. That was fascinating because that was like a beach that I would see, maybe not in Greece, but in mainland Spain. That beach wouldn't really look out of place. Swimming, you can swim in the Baltic Sea during, definitely during the summer months. During the winter in Latvia get actual seasons. So in the UK, we just get bad season all the time, really. I mean, the summer is just like 2 weeks of sun, if you're lucky. But Latvia genuinely gets seasons, so they will have a hot summer and a cold winter, probably how it should be. So if you go to Yarmala in the winter, good luck. The sea is literally going to be frozen over. But yeah, I do recommend these places. But in my last summer holiday last year, I was in Corfu, and Corfu has got is very, very close to Albania. Lovely little monument there. Yeah, in Finland. It's got a, um, a very close border with Albania, so you can head to the port town of Saranda from Corfu Old Town. Now, I was staying up in the north of Corfu, so when we booked that day trip, and it was only €70, and this is to do an entire day trip in Albania, in Saranda, and you also get a tour guide. You visit the Butrinte National Archaeological Park. You also see the castle where Enver Hoxha's, the former dictator's bunkers were. It's very interesting. I recommend doing it, and for a day trip, and also they take you to the hotel. In fact, I don't know if I should mention the hotel that they take you to, but they take you to a nice 4-star hotel, where they will feed you good, and you get to eat this all a great selection of meats, olives, salads. It's really good food. I recommend it. In a really nice hotel which overlooks the port of Saranda, and then at the end you're given some free time. We got about an hour. Sometimes you get an hour and a half to just explore the city and to explore the port front. And I got some souvenirs, an Albanian cap, an Albanian keyring, and what it was with me and travel was that the whole trip to London. I'm just going to check where I'm here. So if we go to Geta and then we come back down here, then we can head across. So I went on a trip to London not too long ago. This was March time, 2024, and that changed my life. Honestly, it really did. The trip was free, provided by university, and I thought to myself, do I do this? Like, I don't really care for travel. Like, I really didn't care whatsoever. But I'm one of them people where, like, I've got like quite an obsessive personality. So if I want to start a business, I will do it relentlessly, and I will do it until I literally burn out. If I want to do Euro Truck videos, I'll do that until I until I can't anymore. And if I decide to go traveling, I will then become obsessed with travel. And that's kind of what happened. So I'll go to London with some friends from university, which was covered by the university, which I was considering not going to as we come into Geta here. Or Gita. I don't know how to say it, but lovely architecture there. Absolutely beautiful. So I'm thinking, do I go to London? Do I not? I think I'm going to have to U-turn this. Oh yeah, there's a lovely little... What's down here? If I can get across into here... maybe I can come back out on the main road. Yeah, so I'm quite I have quite an obsessive personality in that sense. So I go to London and I see the sights of London, Big Ben, Tower of London, etc., Tower Bridge, and I was like, wow, my life has completely changed here. Like, I love this. So then, coming back, I found an amazing deal to Poland, and I went to Krakow, I think. A lot of people who start to go on city breaks in Europe, especially if you are from Europe, they tend to go to Krakow. I just know loads of people who've been. Obviously, there's the historical aspect to that, which I commend your respects to and visit. There's a historical side to Krakow. some very dark history, as a lot of people may know. You can go to Krakow, and that's a place where you will find, a lot of people's first city break is Krakow. I don't know why that is, but I do. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's very safe, and the old town is magnificent. And you're not a million miles away, especially if you live in the UK. How long is the flight? Like, is it about 2.5 hours? I think it's a good place to start. After that, I got really bold, and I've always wanted to visit a former Soviet Union country, I should say. So I went to the Republic of Latvia with my girlfriend, first time ever traveling abroad. And a lot of people, when you've been with somebody, your partner for 5-6 years, like I have, it's like we never went on holiday together, and now we've explored a lot of not a lot of the world, but we've done a lot of traveling in the last year, and we'll continue to do more. But when you ask somebody, where did you go on your first couple holiday, like a lot of people would say Spain, Greece, or Turkey. Ours was Latvia, and it has a special place in our hearts. Honestly, it was the most amazing place I've ever visited. It was incredible. Really, really enjoyed my time in Riga. Absolutely beautiful, and loads of history there. You've got the House of the Blackheads, which is just phenomenal. Can't overtake this guy. The House of the Blackheads is phenomenal. The St. Peter's Tower, where you can see the city, the Latvian Academy of Culture and Science, is very similar to the one in Warsaw, quite a bit smaller. But you can see that Soviet history there. You can see the former German Zeppelin hangars at the market, and the market is incredible. It's the largest market in Europe. Who would have known? Because a lot of people don't know what happens in Latvia, and that's fair enough because it's a very, very, very small country. That then led me on to my holiday to Greece, which I spoke about, but that was already pre-booked. That was already booked in the February, and we went to Latvia in the June, and I went to Poland, my first city break, in the April. So after that, I've obviously done a day trip in Albania, but then something fascinating happened afterwards. So we were due to fly back home from Greece, Corfu, to be specific. We were flying back from Corfu from the airport, and let me just see when I'm going in. Yeah, so I can just knock this off and knock this off. There we go. So I was flying back home, and our flight was delayed, and I mean heavily delayed. We were delayed like 4 hours. I mean, I guess that's not bad. I sound like a bit of a moaner there, don't I? I sound like I'm just complaining for the sake of it, but I guess a terrible delay is like a day, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? When we delayed 4 hours coming back, and we landed. But what it is if anyone knows about the European Union rules on delayed flights, you know that if you take off 3 hours late, the rule is 3 hours, and if you take off 3 hours late, that doesn't qualify you for the compensation for being late. It's when you land, so not when the wheels hit the tarmac at the airport, but it's actually when they open the doors to let you off the plane. That's the moment you should count how long the flight has took. So if the doors open 3 hours to 3 hours late when you land at your arriving airport, you're entitled to compensation. Now, when we were coming into land, I was checking my watch, and it was like 2 hours and 55 minutes, and I actually went up and asked the flight attendant. I actually wanted to be delayed for the compensation, because why not? Do you know what I mean? You're delayed at this point. What's an extra 5 minutes going to do? So I was like to the flight attendant, I knew we were making our descent. I was like, when are we landed, you know? She was like, yeah, I'll be about 10 or 15 minutes. I was like, thank God. Thank God. So I had the ferry port here as we head to Finland. So I was like, thank God we're delayed. Don't mind that. We're already delayed. The damage is done. Who cares? So anyway, we landed 3 hours and 15 minutes late, which, got us compensation. So I sent out the email. And a lot of people, I was telling everyone on the flight, you're entitled to compensation. A lot of people didn't really care. But I thought, no, I'm going to have a go at this. And we won the compensation. So we got £350 each, which is about €400. Right, so we are heading there. Yeah, Nantali. So we got €400 each. So we thought, well, that's a free city break to wherever we want to go. 350 quid. We can. It's coming down here. Put the wipers on. We thought, well, that's an opportunity to go on a city break. Not only on a city break, we could also we could do it really good. So for 5 nights, we booked a 5-star hotel in Prague. And it was honestly an incredible experience, which wouldn't have been possible if I hadn't have filed for the compensation, which I was entitled to, by the way. So little travel things can happen like that. Also, you can manifest things into existence. An opportunity come up to travel to China, like a volunteer program, and I decided to apply for it, and a lot of people did apply for it. But one thing that I did is they were asking us like 500 words on why you'd like to travel to mainland China, and I just thought, screw it, I'm gonna write down 1,500 words of why I'd like to visit and how respectful I would be to the culture, etc., and how much I'm willing to embrace Chinese culture. And I was accepted, so that journey was paid for. I had to pay for my visa, that's about it, and I got to visit mainland China. So these opportunities can come about. If all you think about is something, you're going to get it eventually. If all I think about is travel, I'm going to be able to travel. That's how I kind of look at things. Weird, because when you're struggling for money and you're thinking, I don't know if I can travel with this, all of a sudden things can happen out the blue and money can just turn up. It's very, very strange how it happens. I shouldn't be in this left-hand lane, but I'm just looking at this traffic here. It's looking a little bit naughty. The rain is absolutely out it down here in Finland. So I think that was a pretty exciting journey. I mean, was it the most scenic journey in the world? No. I feel like there was a lot of straight roads. The little island that belongs to Finland. That was quite nice. I'd say I've been to better on the game, but it was nice to experience. And I've I went to an amber light there that was about to turn red, so I may as well just hang in this lane. I know I really shouldn't do this, but I need to do a right-hand turn. Yeah, I've got no choice. I'm gonna have to stay here. Who am I blocking? Yeah, this is bad. Okay, let's move. Breaking every traffic rule in the book. I'm very sorry about the FPS, actually. I'm gonna get this sorted in the next video, or at least attempt to. I think this has been a good journey. I've enjoyed it, and I hope you don't mind me rambling on. But we are now approaching Turku. In fact, where are we right now? Yeah, we're really not far. Turku. The weather ain't so great, but I did increase my rain probability a little bit. It's something I've decided to do with the simulator. I know she's always getting no rain, so I just put the rain probability up to 10 or 20%, which might be a bit too high, but I just like the fact that I can arrive in new countries and the weather can be vastly different. The time of day can be vastly different. I quite like that. You know, for example, one of my favourite drives that I've done recently was obviously the Lebanon one, but why it was so scenic to me and why I enjoyed it so much is that when I arrived in the ferry port, Cyprus, it was sunny Cyprus, looked amazing. Can I get across here? Yeah, I'm gonna try. Sunny Cyprus looked amazing, really impressive. And then I arrived in Lebanon, and it was about 1 in the morning, very early, and it was absolutely lashing it down. And the rain, I literally had to have the wipers on, like on its top setting, like this. It was incredible. I was just driving in the dark, and I just liked the stark contrast between being in Cyprus 1 minute or in the midday sun to then arriving in the ferry port of Beirut and it being really rainy and dark and gloomy. You know, I like that a lot. Again, we're struggling with FPS here. This has been a longer journey than I expected, probably because I took that detour on the little island that belongs to Finland. But yeah, I would like to do more challenging journeys as well. I would like to do the Kirkenes one in Norway. I think that would be fascinating to do. Now I'm going to have to try and bully my way into this right-hand lane. Yeah, just got in. Lovely. Am I seeing a bit of sunlight coming through the clouds here? Maybe the rain might stop. Yeah, not the best day out there. So this video, it's been a lot of ferry ports, hasn't it? It's been a lot of straight roads, and I think in my next one I'm going to be challenging myself to, go a little bit outside the box. We could even do Kefalonia, and we could do them very narrow, bendy roads. I think that'd be amazing to do. I love that. I need to get into this left-hand lane. I knew this guy was going to brake on. I couldn't even see the lights, but I was expecting it. You've got to expect every outcome on this game, honestly. The AI will just screw you over if you don't have your wits about you. I'm sure there's many mistakes I've made in this video. I mean, I did have a crash back in Sweden. I'm really hoping with the FPS being so low that this video doesn't become unwatchable. So would you be making a left-hand turn now? Now this guy's come from Poland. Polish truck here. Where's the rain even coming from? This little grey cloud here. Try and make this left-hand turn. So welcome to Turku. It's just a ferry port, isn't it? I'm sure Turku's got a lot more to offer in real life, but sometimes Euro Truck Simulator doesn't, represent the city in the best way, in the best light. I'm sure Turku's got a lot more to offer, maybe. Or I could be wrong. I don't know. So, looks like we're going to have to... what's the best way to do this? I think we come around this way and we put the other mirror on. Do you know what? I think I'm going to turn this around. think I'm going to back in this way. Oh my word, oh my, reversing on this is so fast. I'm looking to be a little bit slower, to be honest. Looks like we're going to get that in there. Yeah, I think that was the best way to attack it. There we go. Engine off. And decouple. Amazing. That was enjoyable. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments if you've got made it this far, where you'd like me to go next. I would love to challenge myself a little bit more. Maybe have an articulated trailer with 2 trailers. That'd be quite nice. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching, and hopefully see you in the next video. Thank you. Take care.